Hey guys, it is time for my July reading wrap-up. I read a few books this month. Once again, a few of them are ebooks, so I've got my reading journal here to keep track of all the books that I read. But I want to talk about my reading month because July has been a little bit different. I read 0 audiobooks or listened to 0 audiobooks this month. I don't know, didn't feel the need to, didn't want to. So that has affected my reading. Last July, wait, did I say January? I hope not. It's definitely July. Last July, I read probably about 15 books. The summer before that, I read a grand total of 2 books the entire summer. So I have a decent amount of books here. Actually, probably close to 15, but quite a few of them are thinner. So it's been a slower reading month, but it's not as slow as it has been before. So I'll just be thankful for that. Also, like now, after I cut my bangs, I instantly regretted it, and I'm growing them back out, but we're in this like awkward phase with the glasses. Anyway, let's get on to the books. This was not the first book that I read, but I started it back in June, so I feel like maybe this is the first book I should talk about, and that is Words of Radiance, which I actually have the bigger copy over there, but Jared stole it and read it, and yeah, we have 2 copies of these books. So this is book 2 in the Stormlight Archive. I really enjoyed it. I was dragging my feet for the most part of book 1, which was called The Way of Kings. There we go. But then by the end, I really liked it. And this one, I enjoyed it all the way through. There was a lot more banter, like verbal banter between characters, and I really liked that. It gave me like, you know, Gilmore Girl-esque vibes, like what Lorelai and Rory do a lot. There is a character in here, Shalon. She has like the same kind of humor. I feel like she would get along really well with them. But I can't really tell you what this is about because it's the second book in this fantasy series, and also because so much goes on. Like I really probably can't even tell you what happens, but I really enjoyed it. So for August, I am going to be reading, there's a book 2.5, Edge Dancer, that follows a character that was in one of the interludes. So the way Sanderson has these books set up is you follow a few main characters, and then after, you know, a few hundred pages of that, there is like 100 pages of interludes where you follow like very minor characters, or sometimes like Edge Dancer follows a character that I think there was only 1 chapter of in here, and I still don't even understand how that plays into the world at all. Yeah, but I'm trusting Sanderson. I'm enjoying the storyline more now, so hopefully that continues. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that one. Then I went through and I finished the Enola Holmes series. So I read book 5, which is The Case of the Cryptic Crinoline. I used this one for my why do I keep doing that? For the Read Your Bookshelf challenge. I named these things, you guys, and I can't even keep them straight. The Read Your Bookshelf challenge, it was for July. The prompt was to read a book that started with the first letter of your first name. So my name starts with C, and I went with Case because I ignored the Case of the Cryptic Crinoline. There was a lot of C's in there actually. And then The Case of the Gypsy Goodbye was book 6. And then I don't know if they're calling it book 7, but another one, what was it called? Enola Holmes and the Black Baroche, I think is how you pronounce it, just came out this year after there not being a new book for 10 years. So I read all 3 of them, finished the series. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't call it a middle grade series. Like I feel like it reads like a middle grade series, but some of the content where they talk about like ladies of the night and this kind of stuff, I wouldn't give it to anyone. I would actually consider it more like a YA series. And then there's also there's really heavy feminist agenda pushed throughout this, and it just got really annoying because it felt more like, oh, it always talks about how Enola, she can do it on her own, she doesn't need a man and this and that. And like just show me that she can do it on her own. You don't have to keep telling me over and over again that she can do it on her own. Yeah. So it wasn't even that there was a feminist agenda, it's just even I didn't like how it was like blatantly in your face kind of thing. But I did enjoy the series, so there's that. I feel like as an adult I can overlook some things, but I would be like more hesitant to put these in the hands of my kids, like depending on their age, of course. Now I'm just gonna pick books off of my stack. This is not in order at all, but I actually DNF'd this book, Scoot Over and Make Some Room, Creating a Space Where Everyone Belongs. And I don't know how far I got. I was maybe like 50 pages, and it just felt like it wasn't going anywhere. I think it was about having margin in your life so you could invite others in, but really all it was about her daughter with Down syndrome and how she had to work through realizing that she wouldn't be able to do all the things that other, like not comparing herself to others maybe. Yeah, and I don't know, it was just kind of boring. I probably could have finished it, but it just didn't keep my attention. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. I think last month, a couple months ago, I shared that I read a Jane Austen Investigate series. It's a middle grade series where Jane Austen is a young girl and she solves crimes. And they're really good for kids. I feel like they're funny, and sometimes the crime is not even that serious. But I read The Burglars Ball. I think that one comes out in September. I read it on NetGalley, and I had a lot of fun with it. They have a lot of like, this one had a lot of letters back to her family because she was going to a boarding school for a little while to go to the ball, not to actually go to the boarding school. And she wrote these like interesting letters back to her family. Like one was like completely mirrored, and one I think tried to start every word with the letter S. So it was just uniquely set up, and I think that my daughter would really like the series. And then randomly picking a book off my stack, I read Uninvited. I read this one with Holly from Lovely Day with Holly, and I don't know, we were buddy reading it, but I don't even know if she finished the book. So I don't know, it was kind of meh to me. It's supposed to be living loved when you feel less than left out and lonely, and I have felt this way in the past, but I feel like the author, her life was so extreme that it's like no wonder you felt left out. Like her dad divorced her mom, and like before the divorce was constantly talking about how his life would be better without them, and like it's understandable that she has this baggage and trauma that she has, and it made me feel like, well, then I shouldn't feel this way, and that's not what she was trying to do with the book at all. But I don't know, I just felt like I couldn't relate. Maybe in a different season I would like this book more, but I didn't now. Okay, we'll just keep going with the non-fiction. I definitely hit my goal of reading 12 non-fiction books for the year already. I picked up Crazy Busy from the library. This one is by Kevin DeYoung. It's a mercifully short book about a really big problem, and it's all about, you know, being too busy. And I think he made a few good points in here, but overall I didn't come away with any huge wow moments. It has made me analyze a few things that I do, and like, should I be doing them, or should I don't know, should I change some things? But for the most part, I don't know, once again, maybe not for this stage. I do try to keep my life like fairly open in a lot of ways, and a lot of the other things that I have going on are pretty flexible, so I couldn't maybe relate to it as much as some other people, but I read that one. I also read Caught in a Bind. I just realized I'm not giving star ratings here as I'm talking, so as you'll have already noticed, hopefully editing me is putting up my like final ratings of the books, because I forgot about that. Caught in a Bind. So this was book 3 in this series, where we follow a girl named Mary who moves to this small town, and apparently she just keeps getting caught up in all these murders. It's far-fetched. I think she's a hilarious character, so that's why I keep going with the series. If you watched my TBR video, the final book is on my TBR for the month. They're super short, like it's only a few hour commitment to read this book. There are some things I really appreciate. This one, I feel like her relationship with her boyfriend, I guess, it was a little angsty, but there was, I don't know, I guess maybe they just needed to communicate, but there were some things that they did communicate really well. There is a character in here who is dating a non-Christian, and there's like some really good conversations about that, like should she continue with this relationship and all that kind of stuff. This one has elements of a women's shelter for abuse, and I feel like they handled that really well. So there's a lot going on for a book that is like less than 250 pages and like tiny. But it's also kind of cheesy. But I don't know, I've enjoyed the series. One book left. Okay, I finally read Jamie Jo Wright's newest book, On the Cliffs of Foxglove Manor, and then right as I finished it, she announced like her next book. I think it's coming out in April. I don't remember the title or anything, but it's like, oh man, like barely got this one done and she's already working on a new one. I think that would be weird as an author. Like this one came out in June, so she's pushing this new book, but she's pretty much already got this other one like written. I find it hard enough if I schedule a video and I'm working on a different video to like go and read the comments for the one I finished because I feel like I've moved on. Never mind like an entire book. Anyway, that was a rant. On the Cliffs of Foxglove Manor. Once again, this does follow her, like, I don't know, she has a formula when she writes, for sure. And it does follow it. I enjoyed certain parts of it, most of it. I read it quickly. She keeps me on the edge. There's often, like, kind of like a ghost in her books, in a few of them. And she's a Christian author, so you know it's not a ghost. But sometimes it's like, how is she going to explain this? Like, how is this not a ghost? Because I don't understand. And she's always done it really well. This one has some elements of, I don't even know if I want to say, because that kind of spoils it, so I won't say. But we follow two characters. One is in the 1800s, one is modern day, that both have interactions with Foxglove Manor. Yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna leave it there. If you like dual timeline and a little bit of a formula and historical fiction, but not really historical fiction, I think you'd enjoy this. If you've read any of Jamie Jo Wright's books before, if you've read any of them and you've liked them, then you'll probably like this one. Another book I read this month was My Life with the Liars. I read this one so quickly. I'm not gonna talk about it a ton since this was our buddy read and I feel like I talked a lot about it in that video. But it's about a girl named Xylyn who is removed from a cult, but she is trying to get back to it because she's always been told that the cult people live in the light. Like honestly, they live in the light. The lights are turned on all the time. They sleep with the lights on, everything. And then everyone else in the world is in darkness. And her 13th birthday is like 2 weeks away or so when she gets taken out of the cult. And they have a huge ceremony at 13 and she needs to get back before she turns 13 or else she will be in darkness or something. I don't remember all the terminology, but so she's actually been removed from this cult by her father and her stepmom, and she is trying to figure out if she's allowed to trust them. There's some things that she seems like this is way too good to be true. Like all the food that was on her plate the first day, she thought it was a joke, like they were gonna take it away from her or something. It was just interesting. I feel like Kayla Carter did a really good job showing some of the effects, the trauma of living in a cult, and even thinking about foster care, because her other book was about foster care, but this girl like Xylyn had definitely not been fed enough in the cult, and just some of the effects of that has made me think a lot about things that I've heard in regards to foster care with kids who have been not fed enough as well, and just seeing that play out. And I don't know, yeah, I feel like her books just really hit me. She's done a good job with this one. Again, if you're interested in cults at all, I mean like reading about them, I would definitely recommend this one. Oh, but I will say, I did say this in the video with a discussion, but this is like a middle grade book, but once again, I don't know, I don't think I would give it to a kid under 12, and even if you do, or like if you give it to like a 12-year-old or so, this one is going to need some discussions because, yeah, I mean, it's a cult, so hopefully people know that. But I would be scared to have this on like a library shelf and kids just reading it, because I feel like if I had read this as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, I would have been very confused, and I don't know, I feel like it needs some adult discussion to go with it. I have no idea how many books this has been, but the last book I'm going to talk about is The String. So this is a Christian, what is it? Yeah, suspense. Okay, I would agree with that rating. I appreciate it when they have it on the back, but when it just says fiction, like what does that even mean? So we have a character who is the conductor, and they are pretty much blackmailing a bunch of people to do bad things for them for some purpose. So our main character is Marcus. Yes, his name's Marcus. I was gonna say Mike. and he gets caught up in it's called The String by the conductor. It was an interesting concept. I quite enjoyed this book. At the same time, it was written in a way where I was like, when they first introduced the main character, I was very confused as to who the character was, and just the way it was written. So it was written in first person most of the time, I think. But I found that a little bit jarring and confusing sometimes. But overall, the story was very interesting. It was very fast paced. I was flying through it, but there were some times where I was like, wait, what? Like, some of the stuff could use a little bit more explanation. I think it was like being so fast paced that it was leaving things out, so I didn't understand what was going on all the time. But yeah, if you like suspense, this is by Revel. I guess it is Christian suspense because there is the main character. He is not a Christian, and his girlfriend is, I think. This hasn't been that long. I don't know why I'm kind of like forgetting. And he, through this, he, you know, comes to talk to God and trust in him and stuff. Yeah, but it's also, I don't think everyone would like it. I mean, if you don't like suspense, don't read it. It's also a little bit maybe brutal in some places, but it was interesting. Okay, so that was my reading month. It wasn't bad. I'm looking forward to September, October, November, getting back into like reading with blankets and sweaters and warm drinks and fireplaces and all that. So let me know what you've been reading in the last little while. Like, what's the best book that you've read recently? Let me know, because maybe I'll check that one out. Thanks for watching, guys.